Hi everyone, I welcome you to a new podcast with me, your host Girish. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about how to overcome our darkest, our most painful moments in life. And before we start to discuss about it, I would just like to explain to you how we're going to answer this big question. So to do that, we're actually going to get inspired by someone who went through some hard times herself. And the case study we're going to look at today is actually Victoria Milligan, who had a tragic boat accident in May 2013. But what she went through and what she did after that accident is actually quite relevant to us. So that's why we're going to discuss about it by actually studying what she did and what actually happened to her. So before we start talking about the strategies which will help us to get out of our darkest moments, it's good to understand the context. So in her context, in Victoria's context, what happened was that the whole family went on a boat trip, and what happened is it was a speedboat, and the speedboat overturned, and the husband, whose name was Nico, and the 8-year-old daughter Emily, they both died in that accident. And it doesn't stop here. The propellers of the boat actually cut the right leg of Victoria and also the left leg of her son. And Victoria's leg was amputated on the night itself, but for her son, he actually had to go through 15 different operations, and it took 9 months for them to actually be able to make sure the son doesn't lose his left leg. So Victoria actually went through all of that in one day. Okay, one bad day can actually change the life of a person completely. And this is what happened. And now when Victoria looks back at the whole thing, she said that there were a couple of things which helped her to overcome everything. And the first thing was the support from her family, the support from her friends, and the support from therapists. So she wasn't afraid. She didn't try to actually close herself from support. She took on board all the help, all the love, and all the care she could get from her family, from her friends. And she even consulted a professional therapist and psychologist to actually help her out from this bad phase. So support from the family, from close friends, and any professional support we can get during these moments are crucial. They're very important. So that was number one, the most important thing which actually helped her to get out of that phase. And number two was actually her ability to talk about her emotions to others. So at no point she was actually embarrassed to talk about what happened or try to be guilty, try to take it on her, whether it was her fault, whether it was her husband's fault. At no point there was a blame game being played, and she actually communicated really clearly how she felt, whether it was sadness, whether it was anger, anything she felt, she was okay with actually communicating her feelings. Because what happens when we go through tragedies is that sometimes we're embarrassed to say certain things. Sometimes we're embarrassed to talk about anger. Sometimes we are embarrassed to actually show to people that we feel quite weak, we feel shattered. But actually, it's important to talk about it. The more you can talk about it, the more you can empty your sack, and the quicker, let's say, you can get over the thing that happened to you. So you just need to realize that it's normal to be human and to feel these things, and it's important to take them out. It's very important. So that was number 2, the natural disposition to talk about her emotions. She was fine with saying how she felt. And the third thing which she laid out was that knowing how much love there was in her family before that accident, that helped a lot. And if we dive into her experience, we realize that she says that she feels no regret. She feels no regret about not saying goodbye to her daughter and to her husband. Because a lot of people will have that regret that, I could never say the last goodbye. But she has no regret about that. And if you try to understand why, she says that, she loved them a lot and they knew that she loved them. So it was fine. It was fine because when they died, when they went away with a memory, with a feeling that, she loved them a lot. So she puts a lot of emphasis on the love that was in the family before the accident. Okay? And she goes further by even saying that when you lose someone, the relationship doesn't end. It actually just changes the relationship. Okay? And it's important to actually look back and look at the good moments we spent with our loved ones, which we lost. A lot of times, the way the brain is wired is that when you look back at the past, you look at sad moments, you look at moments of grief, moments of depression, because that's the way the brain functions. It clings to negative things, to sad things, because you tend to make these things be more memorable, but it doesn't need to be that way. You could go back and look at all the good things you've done, all the great moments you've spent with your loved ones before they died. So it's us, it's the way we look at things, okay, once again, and we can change that thinking pattern. So right now, we could look back and decide to focus on the good things, on the good moments we spent with our loved ones. It doesn't need to be the way it is right now. And grief is something that never goes. That's another point which was emphasized by Victoria. She says that grief never goes. You just get used to its presence. And given her context, which was very hard, losing your leg, using 2 members of your family, and having to take care of a son who could use just one leg, all right? She found it very hard at the start, and saying that you need to take each day as it comes. For her, it wasn't even each day as it comes. It was taking each hour of the day, as it comes. That's how life was for her. But she took each thing at a time. So she lived each hour of the day as it came towards her. She didn't overthink her future, how she's going to cope with her son and what other plans, because overthinking will just make you more depressive. So she didn't do that. What she did is she focused on each hour of the day and plan and gather the force, the energy to actually cope with these different hours. So she really planned in the macro. Every single moment that came to her, she tried to maximize on each moment that came to her, and she did her best. She did all that she could. She couldn't have done more than that, and that's what she did. So we really need to think about how we look at things. We end up overthinking, over-planning the future. But by doing that, we're actually missing all the ingredients from the present moment right now. So instead of overthinking, over-planning, why not? Why not just live the present moment fully so that we have no regret? I mean, that's what I get when I go through what Victoria is saying here. And the last one, for this podcast is going to be setting small achievable goals, because that's what Victoria did after that major setback in her life. She set small achievable goals. And what were her goals? It was, goal number one was saving Kit's leg. So Kit was the name of her son, okay? So that was her aim. And once that was done, her second target was to learn how to walk with one foot, which is normal, and one foot on the support. So that was the second aim. And the third aim was trying to be normal again, so going to the girls' sports day. So these were small targets which she set herself so that she could get back into the normal life. And once again, I mean, it's good to have a big dream and have that, big target, but you can really work your way towards your main aim by actually having small targets you have in the short term. So you could have small targets for the next few months, and then you could have small targets for each day. And right now we are being hit by COVID-19, and instead of being overwhelmed once again by information and just reading and just getting scared, why not set small targets through the day? For me, it's like writing an article, doing a podcast for you, doing some exercise, meditating a bit. So I have these small targets I set throughout each day, and I try to do them. And then the next day I set other small targets, but they all contribute to the big aim, which for me is living a healthy life, where I also get to uplift other people and get to help other people. So that's the big aim, and I'm trying to achieve that big aim by actually having these small targets and these small aims. So we really need to think about what we can do on a daily basis. Have small aims, and be grateful. Be grateful for still being alive, because when we look at Victoria's story, we realize that compared to her, what she lived right now, we're doing very well. So it's all about perspective. It's all about relativity. If you think that you're having a hard time, you need to look at what other people have lived and try to compare. It's really a hard time what we're going through right now. So we'll just do a quick recap before we end this session. So number one was support from your family, friends, and therapists. Okay, that will help you to overcome the darkest moments of your life. Number two was the ability to talk about your emotions to others. Number three was being grateful for the love you had in your family, in your life before the tragic event. Number four was accepting grief, knowing that grief will always be present, will never go, but you just learn how to live with it. And number five was setting small, achievable goals. So I'll leave you with this podcast. It was a slightly different one compared to the previous ones we've recorded. A bit more intense, a bit more slow, a bit more dark, let's say. But I'll say still positive, because it's only through chaos that we learn how to get up. Okay, so I'll see you very soon. Lots of love. Girish. Bye-bye.